All right. So officially welcome, BJ. Thank you so much for being with us today. I am super excited to have you here. I know that we've talked a couple of times about really the journey, the health journey, food journey that you were on and that Marty and I kind of jumped on, and that probably all of the running that you did with Marty and talking about it spurred quite a bit of that. So I'll have you to thank for it, even though we kind of suddenly jumped into it unexpectedly. But what I would love to do today is just kind of talk through your health journey, kind of how you got to here, any tips and tricks that you would want to share with us, and go from there, if that sounds good.
Yeah. Hi.
Awesome. All right. So, BJ, your official intro, not really too official, but your official intro. I know that we probably first started talking about like vegan food. I think when I met you on the trails, it was, when we would stop for breaks, it was about food and what's everybody eating and cooking and all of that, and just sparked some interest. So I would love to know what kind of got you to this place, like getting to such a healthy level of eating for 8 years, and how you became so passionate about it.
Well, so I struggled with my weight my whole life. And, the first time I realized I was overweight was my senior year of high school. And I had liked a guy, and he had said to a friend of his when I passed by him that I was fat. And so that kind of made me wake up and realize that I was overweight. And
Wow.
I had asked my mom about going on a diet, and she had me join a program and this is back in like 1987, because I graduated high school in 88. So she had me join a program called Lean Line, and that was like a direct competitor of the time to Weight Watchers. And
Okay.
it was like the same program. And so she made all my meals. And so the whole thing is the way I came to this way of eating was because of my long journey of learning. Back then she made all my food, and I lost my weight, and it was great. But once I moved away to go to college, I gained it all back because I never learned how to eat. And that started my journey of losing and gaining 60 pounds 6 times in the past 30 years.
Wait, say that again.
60 pounds I've lost and gained 6 times in the past 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was every time I tried a diet, I would lose the weight. And every time I lost the weight, everybody was like, "Oh, you look great. Aren't you excited?" And every time I've lost the weight, I was terrified because I never knew how to keep it off.
Yeah.
So I've done Lean Line, I've done Weight Watchers, I did diet pills in the Fenton in the late 90s.
Yes.
Metafast. And every time I lost the weight, and actually, when I did Metafast, which is a program where you buy shakes and powders and these little processed things, I remember asking the nutritionist that work at the center, how am I going to keep this weight off? Like what am I supposed to eat? And they're like, well, go back to normal. And if you start gaining some weight, come back, buy some more products, go on it for a couple of weeks, you'll lose the weight again. And then, so I was just like, at that moment, that was my eye awakener going, I don't want to live my life depending on buying something. It was expensive.
Yeah.
And so at that time, my sister-in-law had just lost an amazing 85 pounds following Dr. McDougall. And I didn't know, Dr. McDougall is a plant-based doctor who promotes eating a vegan diet. But so to me, I just saw that she lost 85 pounds being vegan. And so I was like, oh, that's amazing. And maybe that's how I can keep this weight off that I had just lost from Metafast, because I had just lost, close to 60 pounds with Metafast. And she came to stay with us for a week, just to visit. And she was cooking her food, and we were just eating what she ate because it was really good. And I was like, if I could eat like this, I would do it. And she made me watch the movie Forks Over Knives. And this is Thanksgiving time around 2012. My father had just passed away that August from pancreatic cancer. And he had fought a long battle, probably like 3 years, which he was, lucky to fight it that long. But he was reading about how vegetables can, help turn around cancers. But unfortunately, pancreatic cancer, much different than other cancers. But, that was him eating I remember watching him eat asparagus puree, thinking, oh, that's weird. And he was eating it like he was trying to save his life. And my sister-in-law was making all these vegetables, and I would never buy vegetables before in the past. Like I would maybe buy no, honestly, I never really did. I never knew how to eat them. And I remember I would like go grocery shopping, and I can vaguely remember me in like 20 years ago going grocery shopping, and I had just a few bags of vegetables in the cart in my cart, thinking, gosh, I hope I can eat these. Like, I don't want them to go bad.
Right.
Like, do I really want to buy these? Am I going to eat them? And so like, I would always buy like chicken and maybe some frozen vegetables when I was doing Weight Watchers and stuff, and thinking, I don't like this way of eating. It's so bland. I don't like the vegetables. And I was more of a processed food eater, boxes of macaroni and cheese, pasta sauce, and, frozen stuff. I mean, I remember living on frozen dinners when I was single for the longest time. So we watched Forks.
You there?
I know I have so much to say. Sorry.
I'm like, no, because I'm like, oh my gosh. So because this is so timely, I think. So obviously right now, like if you're listening to this, maybe right now while when it jumps out there and it's live, or maybe later, but right now, coronavirus. So we're all pretty much self-quarantining. And so not that I've been to Wegmans too much lately, but the times that I have been to the grocery store, when this first started happening, the shelves of all of the processed foods were the first things to go.
All the frozen pizzas were gone.
Yes.
The whole aisle, which is amazing how big it is.
Right.
Empty.
And yes. And so Marty and I remember, because Marty and I were in the store, and I was like, meanwhile, the vegetables, the produce section was like overflowing at the time. And so I kind of love what you say about that you just didn't really know how to eat, because I think that's probably the issue for most people, is that like, okay, I want to be healthier, like no matter what that is, whether it's losing weight or just healthy, but I don't know what to eat and maybe don't know how.
Or how to prepare them. And so like she had me watch Forks Over Knives, and meanwhile at the time my son was 3 years old, and my husband was upstairs putting our son to bed, and I was downstairs with my sister-in-law watching Forks Over Knives, and I got done with it. And I think around that time, maybe earlier that day, my husband was listening to Dr. Greger's top leading causes of death and how they can be cured with a plant-based diet. And after I got done watching Forks Over Knives, I remember my husband coming down the stairs, and I said, okay, I think I want to be vegetarian. And he's like, no, I want to be vegan. And I'm like, I don't know the difference. I didn't know what the difference was.
Yeah.
But yeah, my husband was like, I guess he knew the difference, and so that he was just clarifying it. And
right.
But that's how far off I'm trying to say I was back then. I didn't even know the difference between vegan and vegetarian, let alone how to eat vegetables. And so, but here's the thing. It was part of our journey, because it's been an 8-year journey. That first year, I actually gained all my weight back from Medifast because I didn't know how to eat. And it was such a learning thing. Like I was eating, I can have nuts. And so I would have these glass jars of all these nuts, and I was eating handfuls of them, walking by them, eating handfuls of nuts. pasta dishes like crazy, lots of chips and salsa, guacamole, and we were still drinking wine. I mean, we go through periods of times where we're completely free of drinking alcohol, but every once in a while we'll get a glass. I mean, there's no alcohol in the house today, so we're quarantined with no alcohol, but you know, occasionally if we're out and about, we'll have a glass of wine or whatever. But so I just gained all my weight back, and that was all of 2013. And you know, I remember, and I'm not going to say specifically who, but I remember someone had said to me, you know, you're eating vegan and how you're overweight. And, you know, they were like, I don't see the point of it. And so I was like, you know, I'm obviously doing this wrong. So then I kept digging in more, and I kept digging into Facebook, following other people, trying to read and do all this stuff. And then I still just wasn't getting it. And it was at the end of 2014, I said to my husband, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not working for me. And he just looked at me, and he wasn't ready to give up. And so in 2015, I started following this woman named Chef AJ, and she had lost a lot of weight, and she's plant-based vegan. And I started following her and learning calorie density and eating foods according to, you know, the calorie density in her, and also Jeff Novak. He has a great way of explaining calorie density. And so I just had to learn to eat more vegetables and beans and potatoes and whole food, plant-based. And once I started catching that, I literally lost 20 pounds the first month I was doing it.
Yeah. So,
and then,
real quickly, just because most people probably don't know what calorie density is, or maybe they do, but for some that don't. What would you say?
So calorie density is, and I think that's just the terminology that a lot of people who eat this way now go by, but the best way to describe it is taking food and by the pound, even though people probably don't eat food by the pound, like no one's going to sit and eat a pound of potatoes. But taking food by the pound and breaking it down by their calories and their nutrient dense. So like vegetables per pound on average are about 100 calories per pound. And I do, my salads that I do eat are probably about a pound and a half.
Which is big, but
yeah,
but I mean, a pound to 180 calories.
Right. So like my salads probably are around average 300 calories. And because I do put beans in them and some seeds, and that's pretty much what probably makes up the calories. But the rest are all vegetables. Oh, I do have like starchy vegetables. So like vegetables are around 100 calories per pound, and then non-starchy vegetables. And then the next is fruit. Fruit is around 200 to 300 calories per pound on average. I mean, honestly, I can't imagine eating a pound of fruit in one sitting.
That's what I was just thinking.
although I should send you pictures of my husband's salad bowl. It's about a pound of vegetable fruit. I mean, it's crazy how much fruit he eats. And then potatoes, unrefined complex carbs are around 400 to 600 calories per pound. And that's your beans, your lentils, your potatoes, your grains, your whole grains, your oats, rices, and stuff like that. And then Jeff Novak and Chef AJ, they all say, if you eat fruits, if you only stick to the fruits and the vegetables and the unrefined complex carbs, if you just eat from those categories only, then you'll get they're calorie dense and they're nutrient dense. That's where all your nutrients are going to be. And if you eat those, you can lose your weight, you can maintain your weight, and you can get the optimum health that you need. And then the chart and I can send you a photo of the chart, because you can get them online. But then you get to the next categories, and I can't think of what they are off the top of my head, but I think the next category, gosh, I don't know off the top of my head.
That's
And
okay.
so I'm trying to think. Actually, I think I have the chart on my bookshelf. Here on video here.
That's all right. We'll feel trip over.
Oh, here, like, so I keep this on my bookshelf. This is, I gotta turn my camera around. This is a picture of me at my heaviest. I keep that on my bookshelf because it's just a good reminder for me to have.
Yeah.
But I can't think of, like, we keep a lot. I don't know what the chart. I'll have to send it to you. But these are all our plant-based cookbooks.
Nice.
Yeah, I love reading cookbooks. It's
Me too.
I just love it. Like,
yeah.
I just love to sit and read a cook. Like, a lot of these plant-based cookbooks are great because they have introductions in them, and teaching you how to eat this way, but the recipes themselves. And then I love modifying recipes, and especially at this time when you can't just run out to the store and get an ingredient.
Yes.
You can improvise.
Yeah.
So I spent my time that first month just eating fruits, vegetables, and grains, and complex carbs. Not complex carbs, I think simplex carbs, right? Well, unrefined complex carbs.
Okay.
And I lost 20 pounds in the first month with no exercise.
Right.
And I never was an exerciser. I never was athletic, never, I had a short period of time before I met my husband doing some cycling, because I had just lost weight with Weight Watchers, and I started to do cycling, and that's how I met my husband, cycling. But yeah, I know I'm jumping all over it. I don't have
no, that's okay.
But my whole process of this journey was really because of my weight management I struggled with. And my mother, she passed away 20 years ago from diabetes. She was overweight. I come from a very overweight family. But, we didn't understand diabetes and food relationship back then. And, and she had a hard time with just getting out and walking or anything. So as I dove deeper and deeper into this journey of eating plant-based for weight management, it turned into several other reasons as to why this is a good way to be eating, is because it turned into like the health benefits. Yeah. Then I started learning about the environmental benefits and the ethical reasons as to why to eat this way. Many people come to it either because they have ethical reasons. For me, it was, I guess I say vanity because of trying to lose weight. But trying to lose weight is also, I improved my health.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Because, by the time I was 42 years old, I was the oldest female in my family. And,
wow.
Which is, yeah. It's a rude awakening, but my mother passed away when she was 53. My aunt was 63. She passed away from a stroke unexpectedly. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was in her mid to late 60s. She had a stroke, survived it, but had complications of diabetes and everything. And so my father's mother passed away when she was 42, when he was only 8. So I never even met her.
Right.
So, it's just, I'm going to be 50 in 2 weeks, and hopefully I'll be able to live to be, 90, 100. It would be nice.
Yeah. So obviously, like, your family support was there. Your husband was kind of on this journey too. And your son, you said, was only 3 when you started.
Yeah.
So yeah, he grew pretty much, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he grew up kind of with this lifestyle.
Well, you know, and that's a whole other topic for probably another time, but I'll touch into the fact that, yeah, when he was 3, by then I had done MetaFast for a year. And so he watched me at a very, very young age eating processed foods. And I was feeding him processed foods by the time he was 3. And here's the kicker of it all. I breastfed him for 26 months.
Wow.
And so here I did the best thing I could have done for him, which I'm grateful for. But the whole time I was pregnant, and for the whole time he started eating foods, I was giving him crap. So I don't know. I still have, yeah.
I am such a fan. First, grace, like give yourself grace on that, because I am such a fan of when you know better, you do better, you know, and
Right.
only kind of, if you continue on down that path of like, you know better, but you just keep doing it anyway. If you're doing better, then I think a huge kudos and shout out, because you're basically changing habits and you're changing a lifestyle no matter what, especially here. But no matter what, there's still tough changes because it's things that you've probably typically always done. So
Right.
I'm sure that the last 8-year journey for him of basically, you know, great healthy foods has gone well and far beyond whatever he ate, you know, processed wise in the beginning.
Well, and I've also have allowed him to empower himself in making decisions on what he eats. And, you know, I just explained to him as to why we eat this way, and want him to understand it, and, you know, provide him with the options of what he want, you know, to choose to eat. And so, yeah, I mean, he made the decision on his own to stop eating chicken nuggets. And we do buy him the vegan processed ones, and it's not something he lives on, but he enjoys. And but he eats vegetables and he eats fruits, and whenever I make, you know, dishes, I always have him eat it too, and he has eaten it, and a lot of times he's not thrilled with it, you know. It doesn't have the the joy of salt and sugar and whatever in it, but I mean, he eats it, and, you know, he doesn't give us a hard time. I mean, he likes the dishes, but I mean, he would prefer other things. I mean, wouldn't we all? But
Listen,
I mean, it's also a matter of neuro adapting your taste buds. You know, if you have the vegan processed chicken nuggets, then you're going to always want that taste.
Yep.
So
I agree.
But he's on board, and he's proud of, you know, our journey as well, and he's proud of me, of how I went from, you know, from the beginning to start, and you know, beginning start to now. So he gets it, and, you know, we're a vegan family. I'd like to, you know, I say he's vegetarian because when he goes to a friend's house, he does have slices of pizza when they're there. And,
Sure.
you know, I want him to have his friends, and his, you know, I don't want his friends' parents to go out of the way to accommodate him.
Yep.
He did go to a friend's house, and they were having hoagies for dinner, and the grandparent that was there did make him a grilled cheese sandwich, which was nice.
Oh, that was very nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, we work our way around it. And, you know, if Philip's not going to eat something he doesn't want to eat. So,
Sure.
and but I do explain to him as to why we want vegetables. He's walking around here right now.
He's like, you talking about me? So then for you, kind of, is there something that maybe further surprised you or impacted you? Or I know we touched on kind of a little bit of that already, but, or is there just something that you wish you would have known for yourself?
Well, what amazes me every time is when I go grocery shopping. And now when I go into the grocery store, the first section is the produce section. And my shopping cart is full. Like it's full of just vegetables. And here's the funny thing. One time I was at the grocery store and my cart's full, like it normally is, of just, fruits and vegetables. And I looked up and I saw a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in, I don't know, 5-something years. And we're friends on Facebook. And so she saw that I was losing weight. So she really wasn't surprised to see me in person. But she was nice. It was nice to see each other. And she says, I'm laughing because I saw your cart first and I thought, that looks like how BJ's cart would probably look. And I looked up and saw you. And and ever since then, I always fill my cart up. And I think, this is amazing. And here's the thing. During this whole quarantine, I am still going to the grocery store once every maybe 8 days. And it is essential to buy fresh fruits and vegetables.
I know.
But if it came down to the fact that we can't go to the grocery store, I feel confident that we'll survive on rice and beans.
Right.
But I have been going, and filling my cart up with fresh fruits and vegetables, and that just amazes me. And I almost feel a little guilty thinking people are probably looking at my cart thinking I'm hoarding fruits and vegetables, but this is going to last us a week.
That's not what they're looking for hoarding. They're looking for all of the toilet paper and the flour. Like don't even try to buy flour because it's gone.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, there's no baking soda. I can't find baking soda. I've been trying to find baking soda because my son and I like to do this thing where you take baking soda and vinegar and make it, foam up and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't even find baking soda to do that. I guess people are using it to clean, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. So all of the produce, what's your favorite recipe? Like, what's your favorite thing to actually wait before I ask that?
Okay.
Let me ask this because there's one thing that is pretty commonly talked about. Like it's cheaper to eat worse. You know what I mean? Like cheaper to eat the processed food. Yeah. And more expensive to eat food that is healthier for you. So maybe combined with, whatever your favorite recipe is or your go-to recipe, do you have some kind of tips that you do for what produce you buy or when you buy it? Maybe do you buy it seasonally, that kind of thing?
Right. Yeah. So I haven't, first of all, the CSAs are great. So I do try to join the CSAs during the summer months. But there's, since we're, you and I are local to each other, there's Produce Junction, that's a great resource. But for me, I have a certain staple of certain things that I buy at Wegmans and Costco. And I do make a big bowl of salads that my husband and I eat out of for the week. And it's just our starter salad. And we take red cabbage and broccoli slaw and celery and carrots and chop them all up. And we put it in this bowl and we call it our starter bowl. And then I buy super greens from Costco. It's a big bag of greens that are like, and Costco is a great resource for organic or just any kind of, bulk vegetables.
Right.
And fruits and frozen fruits. And so I make this salad bowl starter, and then my husband and I, we just take handfuls from it and put it in a bowl, and we start our salads from there, and we add things to it. But so that's our staple. That's a staple, is our salad bowls. So I used to do this thing where I would take 1 quart wide mouth mason jars and make salads in a jar that were our starters, and we would dump it into a bowl and then add things to it, like the wet ingredients, like tomatoes you would not, but it just got to be too much work, and now we just put it all in one big bowl and take handfuls of it out.
Right.
So that's a staple. We eat salads every day. There's a couple of days, there may be like a day that goes by that I don't eat a salad, but the next day I'll have the salad. So salads are a staple, and there's always celery and carrots and stuff for us to munch on. but as far, like, I like to stock up on lentils and dried beans and canned beans. Like Whole Foods, people think Whole Foods is so expensive, but there's things to find at Whole Foods. Like their 365 brands are a good price. And I do buy their beans in a can there. That's actually cheaper. If you buy other brands at Whole Foods, like, I don't know, other brands that are not 365, if you buy them by the case, you get 10% off. Yeah. So before Whole Foods was acquired by Amazon, anything at Whole Foods that you bought by a case, you would get 10% off. And I used to buy, their brand beans, 365 bean, by the case and get 10% off. And we would go through a case pretty easy. Usually I think a case is like 24 cans, and I eat a can of beans a day.
Right.
So, that goes, and my husband, I think, eats a can too. So, but then we got into doing dried beans, which is, a cheaper resource. If you have an Instant Pot, you can really get away with doing a lot of dried beans, putting them in mason jars, keeping them in your fridge. I work full time. My husband works full time. We have a son. So canned beans just work for us. I know it's not the best resource for a lot of people. But as far as like expenses goes, like if you can just stock up on beans and lentils, and have a way of doing salads, and then frozen vegetables are great, especially from Costco. I bought the big bags of broccoli, corn, and Costco has a mixed vegetable blend that my son really likes. It has like corn and peas and green beans and stuff in them. My son's trying to point out the groundhog to me. I'm doing a video conference right now. So
he's like, it's back. Let's go.
Yeah, it's great. So, and then so as far as recipes go, I mean, we have a few recipes that we like that we do in rotation. And I do a lot of cooking in my Instant Pot. I have actually 4 Instant Pots, and so like I got 4 Instant Pots because the first one I got and I love it. And then I thought it'd be really great if I had a second one, because in my first one, I would always make a dish like a stew or a chili. And it was nice to be able to have another one for rice or the potatoes, so that I had them both cooked. And so that's what so when Black Friday comes around, Amazon always has great deals on Instant Pots. So I waited to Black Friday. So then I had 2, right? And they're both with a 6-quart, which is the standard size people buy. And I would always make my rice in one, and then like the chili in the other, and then eat the chili over rice. Or a soup. And then maybe sometimes I want the rice. I don't like cooking the rice in the soup, because then it just.
I agree.
But then everyone kept saying, BJ, you got to have the 8-quart since you're cooking this way. And I'm like, I'm not buying any more Instant Pots. And then Black Friday came, and the 8-quart was on sale. So I had to get that. And I said, that's it. I have 3 Instant Pots, so I'm not getting another one. And the 3-quart went on sale, and I had to get the 3-quart. So the 3-quart, we do mostly our rice in, and oat groats or still cut oats, stuff like that in that one. And the 8-quart, I make a lot of the chilies and stews in, and the 6-quart, some soups and stuff. But like special occasions, I'll usually have at least 3 going.
Yeah.
Especially like Thanksgiving and other holidays. Yeah.
Yes. So so in the beginning, you didn't really cook too much before any of this journey.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily know how to cook this, like, Whole Foods, that kind of thing. Did you always kind of want to learn to cook? Did you always like to cook? Did that evolve because I know some people love it, some people hate it.
Right.
And you know, if you want to eat healthy, but don't necessarily love to cook, what was yours? What was your kind of stance to that?
So my mom, I'm 100% Italian. My mom was an amazing cook, and she didn't just cook Italian food. I was raised on her trying all kinds of recipes. She always had a cookbook open, trying something. She made German food, Chinese food, you know, all kinds of things. But I mean, our staples for the holidays was always Italian based. So I was raised by that. My mom always being a cook, but I wasn't in the kitchen helping her cook. I was the one that was helping clean up. Okay. So in my 20s, when I was living on my own, you know, I was disgusted. I really wasn't, I was just turned off by cooking chicken, and I never learned how to cook a turkey. I never learned how to cook a whole chicken. I never learned to cook steak, and we didn't have steak really. My mom didn't really cook a lot of steak. I think maybe it was expensive then. I don't know. Or so I just thought I wasn't going to be a cook, only because I didn't like touching the meat, and you know, so I just never really dove into cooking. And I tried a lot of pasta dishes. But then again, like I said, I just never really learned how to eat food. But now that I've dove into this way of eating and making food, I really love cooking so much more now. And I feel like this is where I blossomed, because I don't have to touch meat, right? And I just feel I've learned more about how to play with spices. And that came from just keep reading cookbooks and trying it. And I love cooking so much more now. And I feel more confident in the kitchen and throwing things together. And I was following a recipe to make butternut squash soup, and it called for canned peaches, and I don't have canned peaches in the house. And I thought, well, they probably want me to put canned peaches in because it's going to make it, I guess, some kind of sweetness to it. So I'll just use applesauce. I have applesauce. So, and it worked and turned out fine. Maybe it didn't taste how the recipe would have called for, but it still tastes good to me, and I'm fine with it. Yeah. You know, so I've just learned to cook, and I have a pantry that's pretty well stocked, and I can make anything from the things that I have in my pantry, and I feel confident. I'm going to actually show you. And I should probably turn the camera around.
I'm excited.
Canned beans, and my son likes the vegetarian baked beans. He eats those from the can, you know. And then there's, you know, some vinegar, some canned fruit, you know, the milks, and then your tomato products, salsa, and then, you know, there's some sweet potatoes in here, and oats, and this is a neat little thing. I made this from IKEA. These are storage bins from IKEA, and then my husband put casters on the bottom one, and these are two. And then, are you able to lift this up? And then, you know, there's another layer to it, and down here is some rices, and rices, oats, and then you can just put that back on.
I love that.
I know, isn't that great? And then we just wheel it back in here. So, I mean, I feel like I can make complete meals with everything that we have in this pantry. And then I have this Tupperware container that you can't barely see because it's dark, but it has potatoes in it. And then on this, there's, I actually have dehydrated vegetables that I add to my Instant Pot with rice.
Nice.
So I feel like we can survive off of everything that's in here for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, oh wait, how's it? Oh, here we go. I had my hand over the counter. So, and I don't think that costs a lot. And I feel like I can survive on just the stuff in the pantry, but I still like to have frozen vegetables and fresh fruits and vegetables in the fridge.
I agree. So thank you for the tour of your pantry. I kind of actually loved that you did that. Well, unexpected, but I loved it.
Well, here's the thing though, like I never knew how to stock a pantry before, and it was a journey of learning. And like, I don't know, I wish I had pictures of my pantry before going this way, because I don't know what I probably would have had boxes of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Rice-A-Roni and, you know, I don't know what have, you know, would have been in there. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I really, yeah.
That's funny. Rice-A-Roni was probably what we were eating 20 years ago too. It was like, that was the foods that we.
Hamburger Helper. Those were the things that I was living off of.
Yeah.
And my son, we still love Taco Tuesdays. We just make them with lentils.
Yep.
Just like you would do. Yeah.
We love tacos. I could probably eat Mexican in some way, shape, or form every day. So I love the ability to be creative with tacos, taco bowls, you know, like with a huge variety of vegetables. I love that. So
yeah. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know. Maybe I rambled off too long.
No, it was perfect. It was perfect. So the last thing that I would love to touch on is because in the beginning you said that you were never an athlete, like never, you know, that was not who you were. And meanwhile, when you and I first started talking, I said I met you because Marty was running trails with you. Yeah. And I know that you were supposed to, for your birthday coming up, run the Dirty German, the 50K, which would have been huge. And 50K on your 51st will be fantastic if that's what you decide to do. But like, it's definitely not only impacted your health, but impacted your, really, that you're an athlete. And probably I'll say, you know, kind of state of mind too. Like, was there an impact to you mentally or emotionally kind of with this change?
Right. So it's so funny. So after I lost my first 20 pounds, that first month of diving into this way of eating, you know, I started walking. And I was walking around town, and my one neighbor noticed I had lost weight, and I was out walking, and she was really proud of me, and she asked me to go on a run with her. And I just thought, oh, okay, you know, maybe we can run, you know, a mile, 2 miles, we'll see. So, so she really encouraged me to do a 5K, and you know, that was like huge. I was like really proud to do that 5K. I ran with her I forgot how often we ran. And then she also encouraged me to join my town's boot camp classes. And I remember going to the first boot camp class and people doing squats and jumping jacks and planks. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is really hard. And I just kind of like kept going to boot camp classes, and I kept going out on these runs thinking, oh, well, what can I do today? And I never thought like I'm not doing good or I'm not as good as someone else. I just kept thinking to myself, what can I do today?
Good for you.
And that's the funny thing. Like, I never really thought that was a good way of looking at it. It was just how I was thinking. I was just thinking, well, I don't care that I'm not as fast as this person. I don't care I'm not as running as far or doing that much push-ups or whatever. I just want to see what I can do today.
Yeah.
And every day I just kept doing just a little bit more. And, you know, I started hearing people say, just do a little bit more than you can do yesterday. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And
That's awesome.
so I went from trying to do a 5K to doing our town's 8K, the Scott Coffee Run, to doing the Bridge 10K, to another friend of mine who lives in upstate New York. He's someone that we would love. You should probably definitely interview next, is Tim Kaufman. He's lost, and his wife, both have lost so much weight eating this way and are runners. And now they opened up a restaurant up there serving plant-based food at a, you know, an affordable cost to people, and doing education out of that place.
So
and
good.
It's amazing. And so he encouraged me to do a half marathon up in Buffalo, New York. And I thought, no way. And I did it, and I hated it. And I said, I'll never do it again. But then I did it again. And then I said I would never run a marathon. And I did the Philly Marathon in 2018. I mean, it was terrible. It took me 6 hours, but I did it and I finished it.
Right.
And to now trying to train for a 50K for my 50th birthday. And, you know, if I have to do the 50K, if I still do it in the fall, it's still my 50th birthday year. So
yes, it is.
So, but we'll see. And then, but yeah, so it just was, you know, and my whole weight loss, and I definitely want to stress this for anyone who's listening to this or, you know, is always been based on my food. And my exercising and my running had nothing to do with my weight loss. It had everything to do with how I felt about myself and how I wanted to do. And even during this training for the 50K, I actually gained weight because I thought I could eat this because I'm running. And I would eat things, you know, more nuts. I would eat more pasta, things that are more calorie dense, but not necessarily nutrient dense. And I've gained weight during this whole 50K training. So I've learned that eating is, you know, what I eat is how I lost my weight. And so you can't outrun a bad diet.
I was just going to say, I heard it a few years ago that you can't outrun your fork. And the first time I heard it, maybe it was like 5 years ago now, I can't even remember. But the first time I heard it, it was like light bulb. Like, yeah, because that's what I've been trying to do for years and it's not working. So.
Well, and another thing is I'm not a moderation type person. Everyone's like everything in moderation. And, you know, I heard Dr. Greger say, or maybe it was Dr. Clapper, there's a couple of other doctors, but they said, you can definitely eat things in moderation and you can also be killing yourself in moderation. And I was like, oh, so yeah, maybe, I'm just trying to find what works for me and I can sustain, you know, my lifestyle. Training for a 50K is, I feel, definitely extreme for me. I mean, I know people.
For anyone.
I think so, but I mean, some people love it. I don't think I can sustain it, especially, you know, at my age now. I just want to find a nice balance of being healthy, eating healthy, and exercising healthy, and enjoying life. And I have, you know, I'm an older mom. I have a son that's 10, and I want to enjoy those years with him.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, most people are empty nesters at my age, right? So they get to go do what they want to do, you know, but yeah.
I don't think so.
That's true.
Like we had ours young, and all of our friends, so all of our kids' friends' parents that we were friends with, they were all 5 to 10 years older than we were. So even now, the people that that are our age, we have friends that 5 years ago, they were still having their first kids. And we're like, oh my goodness, I could never go back now, So
Right.
I think it's all over the map. But no matter what, I just feel like I always want to have the energy to keep up with them no matter what age they're at.
Right.
Like that's how I feel.
Well, and I would love to be a grandmother. I mean, I would love to, because I had my son and I had no help from a parent. So I would love to be able to be there for my son when he has kids. So not that I'm rushing him to do it, obviously.
No, clearly.
I want him to have a good life.
So I feel like that was chock full of good stuff, but is there anything else? And maybe there's not, and that's okay, because I really do think that it was great. But is there anything that you would want people to know? Like anything that you would want them to walk away with, from this conversation for themselves? And also, before you say it, is there a way that they can kind of follow you, and kind of get in touch with you?
So I definitely want people to know that this is a progress, and so aim for progress and not for perfection, because it's a journey. And if you keep trying to be perfect and you are not doing what you think is perfect and you feel like you fail, it's like the expression, if you get a flat tire, are you going to slash the other 3 tires, or are you going to just fix that flat tire? Yeah. So there's one guy that I work with and I follow, and his name is John Pierre, and he's all about self-love. And he had a saying, gosh, and now I can't remember. And I was going to say what his saying was. Oh, are you fueling yourself, or are you fooling yourself? And that's something I think about every time I eat something. Is this for my fuel, or is this, for me being a fool? But yeah. And so to follow me, I mean, I have a blog. I need to update it. My Facebook page really is whimsical more than anything. And, there's lots of great Facebook pages. I guess I can send you links to, but.
Well, send me the blog anyway, because even though you say you need to update it, I'm sure there's still lots of goodies on there for people that, considering you're 8 years into this journey, even if it's 5 years old, which I'm sure it's not, but even if it's 5 years old, then there's still lots of great nuggets in there.
Yeah. And there's so many great, just get on Facebook and join these pages. There's so many great, I mean, especially the 856 vegan page. It's good to have the local community. But there's great resources on Facebook. You just got to dive in.
Yeah. And I love what your takeaway was. I love the flat tire analogy. So even if you're, in progress and having just one meal a day to start out with, and, transitioning over a little bit at first and kind of getting a feel for it. I love that.
Well, yeah, that's why I think where Meatless Mondays started because it was just focus on one day of the week. But here's the thing, I don't, I'm not a huge advocate. I love this way of eating. This way of eating makes me feel good. We're all doing it together as a family, and we love it, and this makes us feel great. People are like, I can't give up my meat. I can't give up my cheese. I can't give up my, I think a lot of people take possession of the things that they can't give up because they hold it so personal to them to eating it. I just really like to encourage people to stop eating processed foods. Eat food in its whole food state and cook and make the recipes from it, and learn to just like food for what it is.
Yeah. That's that in and of itself.
There's nothing wrong with cooking a potato and eating frozen vegetables with salsa over it. Maybe put a can of beans over it.
Yep.
You don't have to be a cook. And that's probably something else we can talk about at some other time is, you know, how to make meals without cooking, or how, you know,
Yes.
you can
Yeah.
buy frozen rice, you can buy frozen vegetables, and you can have a can of salsa.
Done. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I tremendously appreciate it. As I said, I feel like there was so much in this today that I agree with you. There's probably just a bunch of stuff that we could talk about
Oh,
again
yeah.
another time. So we'll reconvene in a couple of months and get back together with all new learnings for it.
Yeah.
So thank you. Have a fantastic day, fantastic weekend. And I know I'll talk to you before your birthday, but I hope it's fantastic.
Okay. Thanks, Trish.
Thank you.
Bye.